got breaking news.
Breaking news from Fox Sports.
Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, reporting the Dallas Cowboys are in the process of completing a trade for Trey Lance, the former number 3 overall pick of the 49ers. He, quote, gets a fresh start. In fact, Adam Schefter, ESPN, says the deal will be for a mid-round choice. It would be official, Trey Lance to Dallas. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Steve. Martin Weiss, your thoughts?
And just Tom Pelissero just said it's going to be a 2024 fourth-round pick to the 49ers for Trey Lance. And my first thought is, man, you know what? Winning really does solve everything. Because if the 49ers and the amount of draft capital that they spent on Trey Lance to completely mismanage the opportunity for him to be good, if he turns into anything for the Cowboys, like that's grounds for firing a guy, firing a front office, firing a staff. However, they've been to 3 of the last 4 NFC Championship games, so it's probably not going to happen.
So they're good.
Winning solves everything.
It's about winning. It doesn't matter how you get there. It matters that you get there. That's it. I hear you.
On the Dallas,
if they won, they're winning. If they win the Super Bowl this year, who cares?
Right.
That Trey Lance didn't pan out and that they gave up all that because they got talent everywhere.
On the Dallas side of it, there's a lot of – they thought they were going to lose Cooper Rush this offseason. Like, that didn't look like it. But, like, Trey Lance, if he makes the active roster, I'd be surprised. I think he may be a practice squad guy. But I was thinking, like, where does he land? This makes a lot of sense in that if Trey Lance can play at the level that at least the 49ers thought he could a year ago this time when they named him the starter, right? Or, how some people thought that he was coming into the league was worth over a 3rd overall pick. If he can progress and get to that point, I would imagine his game could look similar to a Dak Prescott's. And one of the things that I find NFL teams should do a better job of is finding backups that play like the starters. So when you get into the situation where a backup needs to play, it's more plug and play than having to do everything differently. So, I wish the best of luck to Trey Lance. I don't know how it's going to work out, but my biggest takeaway is Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are real lucky that they've been running through the NFC the last few years. Because
they're not lucky because they're running through the NFC because they've made good decisions elsewhere. They made a mistake. It's a big mistake. All right? But you know what? They've been so good in other decisions. I got, Kyle Shanahan has made mistakes, coaching as an offensive coordinator, as a head coach. We've seen it that have cost his teams dearly. Atlanta in the Super Bowl when they lost to the Patriots. San Francisco when they lost to the Chiefs. Blown leads. And I think a lot of that's on him. However, with this team, they have done a good job elsewhere, and they're one of the most elite teams in the league. They're one of the most talented teams in the league. So everybody makes mistakes, all the teams. And because they've been good elsewhere, they, like you said, it's not sticking to them. And to be honest, it shouldn't. Because at the end of the day, if Brock Purdy, I don't know that he will. I like him, but I'm not sitting here saying he's a finished product. We absolutely know he's a great quarterback. I don't know all that. I know he looked good last year, and I know that if he pans out, then it doesn't matter that they gave all that up for Trey Lance because they still going to be good and might even win a Super Bowl. And so I hear you. Here's my issue with this trade for Dallas, or I should say really for Trey Lance. He needs to play. He needs to play. That's it. He didn't. We all talking about how bad this is. Why? Because he hasn't played. Martin, you and I have almost thrown as many passes as Trey Lance since he left high school. He's thrown 420 passes in the last 6 years in games. And he's not going to play in Dallas? Is he? What is he? He's third string.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right in that he's similar to Dak, theoretically similar to Dak Prescott. We don't know if the guy can play or not. It's fine for the Cowboys, but for Trey Lance, if I'm Trey Lance, I'm like, golly.
Well,
I'm not going to play.
Well, he's going to get a lot of practice squad reps because also
he could have got practice in San Francisco. He got a lot of practice in San Francisco too, and he could get it there or anywhere else.
But you know
he
what?
needs to play.
I don't disagree with that. But the thing about the practice in San Francisco that's interesting, if we look, Kyle Shanahan really treats his quarterbacks in a very weird way. Especially like Jimmy Garoppolo had him in the Super Bowl. He's like, yo, I'm out on this guy. Whether or not it was a smart move, regardless.
Well, I think a lot of it, too, was just knowing you couldn't rely on Jimmy G with his health. And they felt like, look, if we get a quarterback on a rookie deal, then that allows us to go out and strengthen ourselves elsewhere, which is actually what's happened.
Yeah, I get it, but it's just the idea that Brock Purdy's walking in and is the unquestioned starter, just like Trey Lance was the unquestioned starter a year ago. Brock Purdy once, don't get me, came into the league on fire, but like a lot of that's because of the system, right? No one's saying that Brock Purdy was the best rookie out there. It's just he handles his quarterbacks in a weird way. We talk about his system being quarterback friendly, and part of me wonders just how quarterback friendly Kyle Shanahan is, because like RG3, boom, same kind of story, except RG3 actually did see the field and got hurt, but we didn't really see him getting much better, right? He got Matt Schaub, he played great with. He got Matt Ryan, he played great with him. But like outside of
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins played well with him. But it's like, and those guys have a certain level of, baseline, right? Like they have a certain baseline. They have a
ceiling
where they're at. They have a ceiling too, but also like they're going to be competent, right? Their completion percentage will be high if you're throwing the right routes. They're not going to do things like throw the ball into the dirt. So it's weird vibes out of the quarterback's room in general around Kyle Shanahan, and this is exhibit 1003.
Well, look, let's throw it out to the callers. 877-99 on Fox, and Martin and I will talk more about this, but we want to give you a chance to weigh in if you want. 877-99 on Fox, 877-996-6369. What are your thoughts on Trey Lance being traded to the Dallas Cowboys? Let's start with Mo in South Carolina. Mo, you're on the Odd Couple.
Yo, what up, Chris? What up, Martin? What's going on? What's going on, baby?
What's up, man? Good to have you.
Yeah, okay. This is what it is. And not being funny, since Dallas been losing to San Fran so much, maybe he could come in there with some secrets. And plus, he could sit behind Dak and Cooper Rush and get to learn. And like Martin said, be on the practice squad. But it might be for getting information. You know what I'm saying? If they got to go get some. Again,
look, he's going to play. Unless if he wows them in practice, which obviously he didn't wow the Niners, and maybe it doesn't go well this year for Dak, I think Dak will be fine. But if for some reason they were going to move on from Dak and he was great in practice, could you see a lane for him to play? Yeah, but Cooper Rush is still there too. Teams do that. And whether or not that was the motivation, they'll certainly pick his brain and just get a little something from him. So I hear what you're saying, but I just feel bad for Trey because he needs more than anything. He needs to play. He's not going to play.
And you know what the other thing is too on this? Let's say Dak comes out in the first. Let's say Cowboys come out start 4-1, but Dak's thrown 7 interceptions in the first 5 games. And lost a fumble per se. On the same kind of track that he was on last year in terms of turning the ball over. Now
I doubt they'll be 4-1 if that happens. But hey, I'll go along. I'll play along.
Dak. They won all those games last year with Dak throwing a lot of interceptions, right? And not all of them were his fault. I'm not trying to put them all on him, but he did turn the ball over quite a bit. 15 interceptions in 12 games, right? You know what I'm saying? And they had a pretty good record throughout. Now, if that is the case, now at those post-game scrums in the press conference, like after the game, or Tuesday when Jerry's doing his radio show, it's going to be, hey, what have you seen out of Trey Lance? How's Trey Lance been looking? That's going to be a story.
Settle down just a little bit.
There's always a distraction in Dallas, and to your point, this is like just one more potential distraction, and there's going to be a litany of them, but Cooper Rush is the guy going in, right? If that were to happen, it would be Cooper Rush. What did he go, 4-1 last year?
No.
So that's the thing. Is he even better? We'll see. But look, like I said, I just wish he was going to go somewhere where he could play or at least was closer to getting on the field than he is in Dallas. He's got two guys ahead of him. Basically same position he was in San Francisco. All right, let us go to another caller, 877-99 on Fox. Steven from Detroit. Welcome to the Odd Couple.
What up, though?
Steven from Detroit. Yep.
313. All right, so it doesn't make sense to me on both parties. Why would you trade a third round or a third string for a third string? Like, he's coming in as a third string. I would have liked to see him go somewhere that has quarterback injury problems, like a Baltimore or someone. But the only thing that can make sense with me, I'm trying to make sense of the situation. Are they looking to be done with Dak after this contract? Because he has 2 years left. Could that be it?
I mean, and a lot of people are saying if they don't sign him next year, or extend him, I should say, after this season, that means, they're going to move on. But no matter how it goes, I mean, if they don't get to the Super Bowl, we know that's what they're supposed to do in Dallas. Where are you getting a quarterback better than Dak Prescott? If they can, sure, but I don't know that. I mean, he's good. He's not great, but he's good. And they are contenders. And so I think Dak is going to be there for the foreseeable future. But, look, Martin, I thought Miami, and not Miami or Denver. I would have liked to see him go to Denver.
Honestly, I was thinking Denver as well. Yeah. I would have seen him with Sean Payton.
Yeah, great quarterbacks coach with Payton. And then if it doesn't go well with Russell Wilson, then maybe Trey Lance can be that guy. And you've talked about similar playing styles. I mean, we don't know what Trey Lance plays like for the most part, but you can see some similarities there with Russell Wilson. All right, let's go to Bailey in Florida. Bailey, welcome to the Odd Couple.
Hey, fellas, thank you for taking my call. Second-time caller, long-time listener.
Good to have you.
Thanks, man. Die-hard Cowboys fan my entire life here. My daughter is named Dallas. So listen, Jerry Jones is trying to put himself in a position where he could get off of Will Grier because he hasn't been working out in all these preseason games, and we've been sticking with him as the third-string guy for a minute. Cooper Rush is set. But with Dak, if he doesn't make the move this year to push them to at least the NFC Championship game, there's definitely some questions out there as to whether or not they're going to re-sign him. And if you listen to Brandon Jacobs over on the mothership,
he was tripping, man.
Real talk. He's bugging. But the thing is,
what did he say? He said, I heard the quote, but
the quote basically said that he has more confidence in the Giants quarterback in Daniel Jones than he does in Dak after Dak has led a top 5 offense over the last 2 years.
Yeah, this was his last. I mean, it was ridiculous take. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, so that was definitely a hot take. But my thing is that you do have to at least recognize that it kind of has a weird feeling like the Tony Romo situation where we got a good quarterback. It's gonna. What else are you gonna do? Where are you gonna find somebody else when you're not a bad team that's going to draft high? And Jerry's just trying to make sure he has something in his back pocket because Will Grier definitely ain't it. And if Dak gets hurt, we know Cooper Rush can hold it down. So this is just giving him somewhere to fall back to at least develop this guy and see what he could do because the 49ers cut bait too soon. And I agree with you. I feel bad for Trey Lance because he's not getting a fair opportunity to at least prove himself in games to see what he's able to do.
Nah, no question about it. That's a good call, Martin. Right. They want to get off Will Grier. Fine. But the problem is he's still going to be third string. And, I mean, I guess, Martin, part of the thinking could be, hey, we don't know if the guy can play. I mean, I know they have their sources and their moles and all that, but let's see if he can play. And maybe we find, look, it's happened many times before. Maybe we can bring something out of him. I get that. He might have some talent. There's no problem with that. I just feel for him that, and I'm not saying he needs to, well, actually, he probably does need to be thrown in there. Now it's been, this is third year? He needs to be thrown in there to play, but he just be closer. Like Atlanta, Desmond Ridder, if he doesn't work out, maybe, you know what I mean? Trey could have been the guy. So at least get him a shot, but he's not going to get a shot.
Well, the thing is, though, he is going to get the practice squad reps. And if you are, like you said, Will Grier, we know what he's got. Like, that's not happening. But if you, like, Trey Lance has played so little football that to most of the league is an unknown quantity. The only team that really knows what's going on is San Francisco, right? And then
and I tell you what, they clearly are not impressed.
Right.
And here's the proof. Remember, John Lynch said we'd love to get him, if we trade him, to a place where, he can play and that's good for him. This is not that place. And they didn't even wait. Like, you could wait. Let's see. We might, look, our quarterbacks get injured here. Hopefully that changes, but our quarterbacks have been getting injured. We might need him as a third stringer. We can wait till we get maybe a better deal or at least can put him in a better situation. They didn't do any of that. They just said, peace, good riddance. So they weren't impressed, which, doesn't speak too well for the young man, but who knows? We'll